After 38 years of marriage, my husband looked at me across the kitchen table and said, "You've been bleeding me dry for decades. From now on, every penny is mine." 38 years, 3 children, one life built together. And suddenly, I was nothing but an expense. I didn't cry, not because it didn't hurt, but because sometimes pain is so deep, it freezes you. The clock on the wall kept ticking, the refrigerator hummed, and the man I built my life with went back to scrolling on his phone as if he hadn't just erased me, bleeding him dry. I remembered the early years. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. The heat barely worked. We counted quarters for laundry. When he wanted to start his business, I worked double shifts at a diner. When we couldn't afford childcare, I stayed home. When his father got sick, I was the one driving 2 appointments. When he needed to impress investors, I ironed his shirts at midnight. But somewhere along the way, we became me supporting him, and me became invisible. The money came later. The big house, the luxury cars, the golf memberships, and with it came pride, then ego, then distance. That night, he moved money into a separate account. The next week, he told me, "If you want spending money, get a job." At 60, after dedicating my entire adult life to our home and family, I nodded quietly because something inside me was shifting. The next morning, I didn't argue. I went to the bank not to withdraw money, but to request copies, statements, investment documents, property titles. You see, while he built the company, I handled the paperwork, and my name was on more things than he remembered. For years, he had put assets in joint ownership for tax purposes. The house, joint. 2 rental properties, joint. Retirement accounts, joint. Even part of the company shares, joint. He thought I wasn't paying attention, but I always was. When he came home one evening and said, "I spoke to a lawyer. You're entitled to very little," I almost smiled because I had already spoken to one too. 3 months later, we sat in a courtroom. He looked confident, like a man who believed money equaled power. His attorney said I was financially dependent. My attorney said something different. She was financially foundational. The judge flipped through documents. "Ma'am," she asked me, "did you contribute to the success of this marriage?" I answered softly, "Every day." Then she turned to him. "Sir, do you believe your wife of 38 years contributed nothing?" He shifted in his seat. Silence. The judge leaned forward. "Marriage is not employment. It is partnership. And partnership means shared growth." Then she read the division. It wasn't every penny his. It was equitable, very equitable. But here's what he didn't expect. I didn't fight to stay. After the settlement, I left, not angry, not bitter, free. I downsized to a small lake house, started volunteering, took painting classes, reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in decades. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't someone's support system. I was my own person. 6 months later, he called. His business had taken a downturn, stress, health issues. Loneliness, I didn't mean it, he said. I was frustrated, but frustration doesn't invent disrespect, it reveals it. I wished him well and hung up. Here's what I learned: when someone says you've been bleeding them dry, ask yourself this: were you bleeding them, or were you holding them together while they built something on your back? Because sacrifice is invisible until someone decides to rewrite history. And sometimes the greatest twist in a marriage is realizing you were never the burden. You were the backbone.